What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video, and welcome to Vlogmas Day 7. Obviously here we are outside because it's actually light for once when I'm filming the start of a Vlogmas video. So that has definitely been not the case for most of the videos in this series, but we got it here today, so I figured I may as well get you guys a clip outside the shop instead of inside like all the other ones. But obviously here today we have the Tropic Orange GTI, and today we're going to be fixing probably the biggest issue this car has right now. So as you can see here, this is not really acceptable. This is how I prefer my cars to look and actually look good, and this is definitely not where it's at. These are also not where it's at. So we are going to be fixing both of those issues here today. I am not very happy with either of them, and honestly, one of the biggest modifications you can make to a Mark IV and make them look good is what we're going to be doing here today. So I'm super excited for that and super excited to open up the presents that we have to install in this car today. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing pulled into the shop, and then we're going to go ahead and open up the presents and show you guys what I'm so excited for this thing to not sound like that anymore. It sounds so bad. We're going to be getting that modification very, very soon in this series, so don't worry. Alrighty, so if we come over to our pile of presents here, we're going to move this one out of the way and make room for this one, because this is the present that we have to unwrap for this video. I can't remember which side this one opens on. I'm hoping it's this one. Of course it is. You guys can probably guess what's in here, but maybe you can't. Go ahead, pull this out. Pull one of these out here. That's right, we have a set of coilovers for the Tropic Orange car. And the amount of self-control that it has taken me to not put the two pieces we have to install in this car today on before this series is beyond what you guys can comprehend, because this car is going to look so much better when we're done with these modifications. It's going to drive me insane that I was forced to look at it in the condition that it's in right now for the entire time that I've owned it. So I'm so excited to get those coilovers installed. We do have a set of SolarWorks coilovers. I got them off a parts car at work. So they're not brand new, but they are like new. So they're going to be good for this car for sure. Now, I don't know if we'll upgrade to anything in the future. If we go to anything else, it would be to like a K&W or something that is a more high quality driving, depending on the direction I go with this car. I don't really know where we're headed with it. I just know I want to drive it. I don't know where I want to drive it or what I want to do with it in the end. So we'll see what happens with the suspension. We may leave that SolarWorks stuff on, or we may go with a higher quality suspension, depending on where it goes. But that's what we're going to be putting on it for now. That is the first thing that we have to install for today. Now, you guys already know about these, but I wrapped them up anyway. We have a set of EBS RCs for this car as well. So those are the wheels we're going to be putting on this car. Now, I'm a big fan of these wheels. They're definitely a very OEM plus look for these cars. They are an OEM wheel. Now, for these cars, the 20th anniversary was supposed to come with a set of Aristos, which is the same wheels that come on the Mark IV R32, and those do look really good. The RCs came on the 337, so the 20th that was only silver was the 337, and then also the 20th anniversary GLI. So I call it a 20th anniversary GLI. You probably know what I'm talking about, but the Mark IV GLI with the body kit on it. So it would be 1.8 turbo GLI. Those came with the BBS RCs as well. So those are going to be super cool in this car. And like I said, a very OEM plus wheel choice. And I was on the hunt for these wheels. So shout out to my buddy Tony Sal for hooking me up with those wheels. I was on the hunt for some with caps, and he hooked me up with these wheels here for a pretty good price. And they have pretty good tires on them. They are a little bit older, but they all hold there and they all have good tread, so they're going to work. And it has all four caps, and they are in pretty good condition. Now, they do have some the paint flaking off and clear coat and stuff, which is very common for these wheels, so definitely not out of the ordinary. But overall, to get a set of these with decent tires and all four caps is not a very easy thing to do, and I was super glad that he was willing to sell me those wheels. So definitely appreciate that, but I'm super excited to be getting both of those modifications thrown on this car, as this thing is pretty much going to be unrecognizable by the time we're done with this video. So enough talking. I'm going to go ahead and get the front of this jacked up, because the front is the worst part to install. So we're going to go ahead and do that first and get the front out of the way. The rear takes approximately 20 minutes, and the front is going to take a little bit longer than that. So we're going to get the front jacked up first, and we're going to get the coilovers installed in the front to start off these modifications. Alrighty, so we got the wheel off of the car here, and we can now see our suspension, and obviously this is super simple to install. Now, there's literally another video on my channel, as well as all over YouTube, on how to install coilovers on a Mark IV, so I'm really not going to go into detail on this. If you want to know a little bit more about it, the video that I made, I believe, on my Mark IV TDI wagon, I slammed that and I put coilovers on it. So there's a video there with a little bit more description on how to do this coilovers, but basically we're just going to go ahead and pull this out, throw the coilovers in, because this is just a Vlogmas video. This isn't a DIY video of sorts. So we are just doing mods to my car, and we're not really, you know, after doing a full-blown tutorial. So basically I'm going to go ahead and get the strut pulled off here, get this all apart, and get that side on, and then we'll move on to the other side and then move on to the rear. But like I said, not going to go into a ton of depth on this suspension install, just because, well, like I said, there are plenty of other videos on this, including my channel and many others. So going to go ahead and do that right now. Alrighty, so we've got the old junk out of here. Actually, it's not junk, it's in fine condition. It's just not what we want. So just went ahead and pulled bolt off the top here, 22 millimeter, I believe, and then went ahead and pulled the 18 millimeter bolt that is right here, 18. So pulled that out, and then also went ahead and pulled the 30 millimeter off to pull the axle out of the spindle, pulled the 313 millimeters out of the ball joint to pull the spindle front, have it under a jack here. And then we used our strut spreader here. This tool is absolutely awesome. I bought it off Amazon. It was like 20 bucks, but it's super cool because you can just take it and then you can turn it right there, and it kind of, you know, it spreads it open, and then it's able to make this thing come out super easy, because if you don't do that, you're going to be pounding on this thing for hours trying to get it apart. So that tool is super awesome. Definitely would highly recommend if you're doing this job. But either way, got that off now, so now we're going to go ahead and take new hotness and go ahead and put that in there, and then do Mark IV owner things and slam this car to the ground. So that's what we need to do. Motor may not be done, still needs a manual swap done to it, needs an enhanced inspection, needs a lot of things. But what are we doing? We're slamming the car, because what else do you do? Alrighty, so coilovers in. You can already see how much higher this is. It honestly looks better with the rotor and no wheel than it did before. So you can already tell this thing is way higher than it used to be. So we're going to go ahead and grab one of the RCs and go and throw it on here and see how this thing's going to look. But obviously, got everything connected up. And also, this suspension, for some reason, I didn't buy this, so I don't really know, but it has a sway bar mounting tab up here. Now, Mark IV doesn't have right there. Mark IV doesn't have a sway bar like that. The Mark IV sway bar is down here. So I don't really know what exactly that's for, and I don't know how it could possibly work, because the axle's right there, and it's directly like in line with the axle. So I don't really know how that's supposed to work or what the purpose of that is. Maybe someone on here would know, but either way, we'll ignore that for now. But either way, got that installed there. Everything's all good. So now we're going to go ahead and grab a wheel and throw it on here and see how this car is going to turn out. I'm thinking we're going to do pretty good with this one, because I'm already, like I said, I'm already stoked, and I don't even put a wheel on it yet. So we're going to waste no more time and get that on there. Now, not only did I get these wheels with all 4 casts, I also got the factory VBS wheel tool with these wheels. So that's even cooler. I mean, most of you probably, if you've seen these wheels, you probably haven't even seen this thing, because there are not very many of them around. But basically, it just goes into the wheel, and then it allows you to take the cap off properly. They're very, very, very hard to find, so you do not see them often. But we can take our cap off. There we go. I think this is going to look pretty sick. Alright, we're going to go ahead, put it on here and see how it looks. I got to take this lug out of the wheel first. It has a broken rotor screw, of course, so to tighten the axle bolt, I had to put a lug into the wheel. But, I also don't know how this is going to sit as far as how low it is, so we'll find that out here soon. Oh, man. Oh, I think this is going to look alright. I think this is going to work out. Come on. We're just going to put 2 in for now. And put the cap back on here. Okay, well, that's going to be a problem. So it looks great. Looks awesome. However, the wheel is into the coilover. Now that's a little interesting. I think I know what we're gonna have to do. I kind of hoped I wasn't gonna have to do this, but I'm gonna have to do it. I wish that would stay up. But what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take this back apart again. This video is gonna be up late, I can tell already. But we're gonna have to take this spring back apart. All right, so I can show you guys here what we're gonna have to do. So this right here is called a helper spring, and then this is the primary spring. The problem we're having is that our tire is hitting the spring and the collar on the actual strut, coilover. So we're gonna have to take off this helper spring so that we can raise this up, which will then allow the collar to be higher than where the tire is, and then that's going to mean that we won't have any rubbing. The only other option would be to put spacers on, which I don't really want to do that in the front because the fitment in the front of a Mark IV with stock with wheels like these is pretty good. So I don't really know why they have designed these coilovers that they can't accept a factory wheel, but nonetheless, that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and take this helper spring out, move this spring up, and also SolarWorks coilovers. I have them on my truck, and they have a tendency to, with the helper spring in, to be incredibly bouncy. So honestly, it's probably something that we would have wanted to do anyway once we started driving it and realized how bouncy it was, because like I said, my truck is the same way, and once I took the helper springs out, it was all good. So we're going to go ahead and do that. It was not really what I wanted to do right now, but nonetheless, we got to do it because, well, I can barely turn the wheel, and I don't really want to shred my tires. So we're going to go ahead and take this back off, take it apart, pull the helper spring, and then put it back together. I'm trying to explain this to you guys in a way that makes the most sense. But basically, like I said, this is the helper spring, and as you can see, this spring is very, very easy to compress. Now, this is the primary spring. This one is not near as easy to compress. So this one, I guess, is meant to keep tension on it when you jack it up and stuff like that, which makes sense. But these tend to, when you have them turned up a bunch or when you hit bumps, these tend to bottom out and they come together because it's so easy to compress. And then it causes bouncing because it's super stiff because it's just metal on metal. So we're taking that out and we have this. Now, I don't know if you guys can see too well in here, but basically this collar is where these are threads and these are the collar for the threads. And you take this spring and this is going to elevate when you turn those up on the shaft. That's going to elevate, or the body of the shock, I guess I should say. That's going to elevate the spring, and that is going to raise the car. Now, we're going to have to elevate it a lot because we just took out this spring here. So this distance, we're basically going to have to remove. Now, it's not going to be quite that much, but it's going to be the equivalent of what this would have had. We have to pick up that slack by removing it. But once we do that, that's going to be raised above the tire, hopefully, and then that should allow us to have enough room to make this work. Now, unfortunately, because we can't adjust the camber on this car, we can't kick it out a little bit to make the room that we need, and without running a spacer, this is really the only option we have. So I'm going to go ahead and spin this up, try to monkey around with this, and see how I can make it work, and then we're going to move on. But definitely a roadblock for sure. All right, so we have the wheel just hanging on here, but this should give you guys a good visual of what I'm talking about. So as you can see here, the tire is now below where the collar was. Before, the tire on the inside was hitting this collar right there, and it would have been rubbing on that. But now that we've taken that helper spring out, we're able to raise it up, and we now have room that this can go in between the body and the actual tire, and then we're all good, and we're not going to have any rubbing issues anymore. So I'm going to go ahead, get this put back together, and then we're going to move on. All right, so let's try this again. Now, hopefully, now that we have removed the helper spring, we can put our wheel on and it's not going to rub or cause us any issues. So we'll go ahead and lug number 1 on. Now, let me know. Maybe I should do a stud conversion on this car too, because you can definitely use that on all cars. But now, obviously we're in gear, so yes, we're good. So now we are not rubbing on our collar anymore. That is exactly what we want. Good. Oh, let me throw the center cap on here for the full effect. But yeah, that is definitely where it was at, where it is at, I should say, not was. But that's definitely gonna look cool. And there's something else that's gonna look cool behind these big giant 18-inch wheels that may fill this gap between, the rotor and the. I may be hinting at a modification for the rest of the series, but this gap is going to be much, much smaller by the time this series is over. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anymore because I'm already pretty much giving it away. But that's where we're at. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and then we're going to move on to the rear because I need to get this done because it is starting to get dangerously late to get this video out today. The front is entirely lowered, and I'm trying my best not to behave like a child here, but this car looks absolutely amazing. Like, I mean, come on. That's the look on a Mark IV, and we don't even have the body kit on yet. This thing is going to get so much better, but I'm already, I mean, even look at the back here. I mean, look at this, and then come around to the front. This thing looks absolutely awesome. I am so happy with it, but we're not done yet, and it is currently 9 o'clock. So we've got 3 more hours that I got to get this video up. So I got to really hustle so that I can get this all edited and uploaded for you guys before midnight, because it's definitely going to be a run. Of course, Nathan, who I built the truck for, had to call me, and just trying to I think he was trying to sabotage me. He was trying to throw me off so that I don't get this done. So nice try, it's not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and take the back part, and we're going to go ahead and put the rear on. Like I said, the rear is super easy as compared to the front, so the front is definitely much more time consuming. So we're going to go ahead and get the rear done real quick, get this thing down on the ground, and end off this video so I can get it up for you guys. But I am so stoked with how this car looks. This is definitely the look, in my opinion, for a Mark IV, and especially a Mark IV in this color. Definitely where it's at. All right, now don't ask me why, because I have absolutely no clue, but the bolts for these rear shocks, this one is just entirely loose, and this one is not here at all. So that is definitely an interesting situation. Not quite sure what the deal is there, but in any case, that's okay, because we need to take them out anyway. So that's going to make things easier for us. The only thing that's not going to be easy, I'm going to have to come up with one of these. So hopefully I can find one easily in my giant bucket of bolts. But either way, we have to find one of those, get this pulled out, and then once we pull those out, we can just pop these gigantic springs out. Let me go grab one of the springs over here off the floor. Creeping around here, but look at that. That just looks sick. All right, I'm getting distracted. I'm back at it again with the ADHD customs here, but got the spring here. If we go ahead and hold this up this way, you guys probably see better on this side, but you can see this spring is a good bit shorter than the one that we have now, so definitely where the lowering portion comes in. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and get this stuff pulled apart, get the lowering springs on, and get this lowering suspension and new wheels wrapped up. I was going to film pulling the springs out of this car for you guys, but I took the bolt out that was remaining on the one shock, and they just fell out. So don't have to film that, but there we go. There's spring number 1 and spring number 2. Don't need those anymore. And now, if you play your cards right with this, you actually don't have to take the rear wheels off. Obviously, we have to anyway, but if you take the bottom bolts out, and then you can access your bolts for your shock up here, it's 216 millimeters. So once you access those, you can then remove and replace your shock with your shortened one. And then you can jack it back up by the axle, by the spring purchase, and you can jack this back up and then put the bolt in on the bottom for your springs, or for your shock, and then you're all done. So if you play your cards right, if you're doing this and leaving your own wheels on, then you won't actually have to take your wheels off. So I know it's just 10 bolts, but it's a little extra time saving. So just to let you guys know. But either way, I'm going to go ahead, pull those shocks off. We're going to put the other ones on, throw the springs in, jack it up, put the wheels on, and be done. All right, so rear springs and shocks are all installed. Now we just got to go ahead and pull the last 2 old wheels out and go ahead and throw on our BBS RCs for the rear. On the ground. The one wheel was really seized on there, so I'm glad that one wasn't. Now, I also did go ahead and throw the rubber, like, shim bushing piece in on the bottom of this. Now, that is not the correct way to do that. You're actually going to want a perch on the bottom that is adjustable, like a coilover sleeve. Now, this suspension, the last guy took it out. He must have wanted it lower, but I'd like to keep this car level. We're not trying to do any squatted truck activities with this car, so we're going to be coming up with some, I have some spare perches from something, I think from my Mark V that I took out. So, because that car, the suspension was too high. So, this car, it's too low in the back. It was kind of really tucking hard. So, we'll see how it looks with the 18s on it. But I went ahead and stuck the rubber shim on the underneath so it pushes it up. Basically, the equivalent of having the sleeve, or the collar down on the bottom with the perch that is all the way down. So, we'll see how it looks with the wheel on. But, either way, just let you guys know that I did that. I didn't just throw in no perch and have it sitting where it's going to sit. So we'll see how this looks here once we get it set down. But I think it's going to be pretty sweet. We also do need to get new brake calipers for the rear because they are sticking up pretty bad. There we go. All right. I wasn't kidding about this thing being sticking. I mean, this thing won't turn freely, so that's not good. But I'm going to go ahead and set it down here. Oh, yeah. That's pretty good. That's definitely tucking pretty much where I want it to be. We might raise it up a tad more, but once we have those perches on the bottom, we'll be able to adjust it to where we want it. But either way, that's pretty sick. Alrighty, the last wheel is on. Let's get the look here. Alright, so as you guys can see right here, this is the reason why you never underestimate what wheels and suspension can do for a car. This thing is an absolutely insane transformation, and it is so crazy to see basically my dream car appearing in my driveway as I build it. This is like the most fun thing. And honestly, what I really want to show you guys is, I paid $500 for this car. You don't need a ton of money to make cool stuff, and you don't need a ton of money to have fun. This car is definitely a very budget-friendly build, and we're not going to be spending more than $3,000 on this whole entire ordeal, I would say. I'll break it down for you once the project's done and see what it costs, but basically what I'm trying to show you guys is you guys can have fun with stuff, and it doesn't have to break the bank. Like this car, this thing makes me smile so much, probably more than any other supercar or whatever is going to make you happy, because this thing, to see this thing come together is just absolutely amazing, and seeing this vision executing perfectly is exactly what I want to see. And by doing this suspension on this car, I mean, this is just in the wheels. This thing is just coming together, and we are not even close to being done with how this car is going to look. So I am just so stoked on how this thing is coming out, and I hope you guys are so excited for the rest of the project and making this car look even better than it does now, because like I said already, this is just getting started. So with that, that is going to be a wrap on this video and a wrap on the suspension install on the Tropic Orange car. I hope that you all enjoyed the video and enjoyed Vlogmas Day 7, and Day 8 tomorrow, we're going to be introducing the new car. So get ready for that. That's definitely going to be fun. Either way, I hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.